Ooh, it's getting a little sensual with the mic. So, before the start of our Rage Quit episode, I would like to tell a little bit about Rage Quit's sponsor. So, welcome to another episode of Rage Quit, the husband and wife duo that discusses video games every week. Rage Quit is sponsored by AFK Clothing Co. Are you a gamer? Do you enjoy games? Then check out AFK Clothing Co. for all of your gaming apparel needs. As I record this, I am sporting an AFK green sleeve baseball tee that I absolutely love and wear every week. We'd never be sponsored by something we didn't like. And if you'd like to support the show, head on over to AFK Clothing Co., link in the description below, and type ASI in the promo code box to get 10% off your next order. As always, just follow the bear. And now on to the show. Cool.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Rage Quit.
Hashtag Rage Quit, hashtag Spooksy.
Hashtag, wait, what?
Spooksy.
Spooksy.
Yeah, this is episode 11 of Rage Quit.
Ooh, out of order, dumb cats. Yay.
Yeah, can't knock us no more. First few seconds of the podcast.
You know, we have a big house with lots of critters. It happens.
Oh, yeah. They're on the stream all the time anyways. Especially the tweenies and the kitties.
I know. All right, kind sir. Kindly explain what we are going to talk about.
So, in our trend of more evergreen content that can be listened to over and over and over again, we are going to be discussing the rise and fall of the video game Mascot.
Oh,
Bam, 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 bam. And I also think by the end of it, I think I've got good reasoning why it's not necessarily the fall of the gaming mascot, especially right now. I think gaming mascots are back, but maybe not labeled as such. I mean, that could be definitely a very generational kind of thing. But
yeah,
I think we'll
true.
get there.
Well, that will come in time, kind sirs and ladies.
So as the resident Nintendo chick, do you want to start us off with maybe some of the the more well-known like Nintendo icons or gaming mascots?
Yes, I'm not gonna be like very good with like, let's say, systems like, you know, the naming Louise or whatever, but I feel like
I think Nintendo's a little easier anyways because they're more long running.
They are,
and they cover multiple
multiples.
systems.
They
it's
do,
not
yeah.
just like it's switched every
generation. No, the main ones I honestly can think of when it comes to Nintendo are Mario and Link, or Zelda, vice versa.
Yeah, I'd say Link more than Princess Zelda.
Yeah, but most people don't realize that Zelda is not.
A lot
Link.
of people, yeah. I mean, valid point. But I would say that, like, when you maybe even if they say Zelda, they're thinking Link.
Yeah.
So I think Link would be more
appropriate. Yeah. And I feel like that just kind of depends on whom you talk to. But like with it, when you think of Nintendo, what straight comes to mind, honestly, for me, it's Link's my favorite, yes, but it's honestly Mario comes to mind.
Oh, yeah. I think gaming mascots, especially in the 90s, which we grew up in, were very, like, prevalent, and it was very much a part of, like, PR for these companies and these systems. So they very much cemented in our kid brains that Mario is Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then for me, I was more of a Sega kid growing up, so it was Sonic the Hedgehog is Sega. Like,
Sega.
That's, like... I think a very important like distinction. I think the younger generation ourselves, probably like Gen Zers and stuff, are as privy
to that
kind of culture.
I don't
think it didn't really
think
exist
so.
in the 2000s as much.
Because like, you know, when they say Mario, they just think of the Mario games. They don't really think of like, oh, Nintendo.
Yeah, that's Mario is the Nintendo mascot.
Yeah. And you know, same with like Zelda. They don't think Nintendo. They just think I think nowadays when you talk about the character, it's not necessarily the system that it's on because it's a lot of cross-play nowadays. Yeah. Or cross-platform games, except for like Nintendo, with its main characters. And I know Sony and Xbox all have their own as well, but...
Yeah, it's not as prevalent as it used to be. I mean... I think we were... Like, as kids... Video game culture was very new. Yeah. Like, home consoles were new when we were kids.
Yeah, because when you wanted to play video games, you had to go to an arcade to play them.
Yeah, it's like you talk about the NES, coming out in what, like 1985. I was born in 88.
Yeah, I was born in 91, so.
And so it's like, if that's really, I mean, obviously you have like Atari 2600s and stuff like that, but not as prevalent. Like the NES, I think, was really like the big breakthrough and families having home consoles.
Yeah.
And then from then on, you start to get, you know, the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, and eventually into like the mid to late 90s, where you have like the rise of 3D gaming with the N64 and the PlayStation 1, and even like the Dreamcast and the Sega Saturn and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like console gaming was new, so I think it made
It's
sense
easier to
like do
slap
that.
a character on it.
Yeah, do that PR push where it's like Mario is Nintendo,
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog
Is
is Sega.
Sega.
Not so much like, oh, what's your favorite Mario game that was on, you know, or
Which
some people might
generation?
say the original Super Mario Brothers, or, you know, Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii or something like
Yeah.
that. They more talk about the franchise or maybe the characters, the types of
No,
games they
just
were in.
Mario was strictly notated with Nintendo, and Sonic was strictly with Sega, and it wasn't. There's so many platforms now and generations of game systems and games even that it's just like when people talk about it, they're like, oh, not. They don't say just Mario. You think
Yeah.
Nintendo. You think Mario. Which Mario?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, are you specifically talking about, you know, Mario Odyssey because it just released?
Or
Or are you
like
just
said,
talking about your
Wii
all-time
U?
favorite
Yeah.
Mario game, you know?
It's not just Mario with Nintendo now, or vice versa with a lot of the games. It's not just Sonic that we'll say.
Because that's really like, you know, where console wars kind of started. It was like the companies themselves had like public rivalries, whether they were real or not really didn't matter. It just drummed
Yeah.
up support for, you
other
know,
people
their
like, oh,
respective
I'm a
camp.
Mario and Nintendo. Yeah,
And because it was so new, most families only had like one console. Like, they didn't have multiple ones. And nowadays,
Well, yeah, and
gaming's matured.
it has. Yeah,
And so, like, if you are a gamer or like your family are gamers, which is more prevalent nowadays, it's like odds are you have multiple consoles in your house.
yeah,
You have a few handhelds, you have some old ones, you have some new ones. Like, you have, you know, an Xbox One and a PS4, or you have a
Yeah.
PS4 and a Switch, and so it's like muddles the waters a little bit for gaming mascots, especially.
it does. And I feel like it was easier back in the '90s because at the same time, too, no knock on our parents, but they saw a cute little hedgehog, a little blue creature, excuse me, critter, and they're like, oh, that's so cute. I'm gonna get my kids this game or system. They're gonna love it. Or they see the Mario dude, and they're like, or the adventure with it, and they're like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, my kid's gonna love it. Vice versa, and that's what's
Or like a lot of advertising in the 90s too was, and it is to some extent nowadays geared the same way, but it was geared towards kids.
yeah,
So I'm sure like little kids, whether they knew it or not, were like,
being slightly brainwashed.
yeah, exactly.
Brainwashed.
Like,
Blames.
oh, I absolutely, you know, I know as a little kid, the reason that I even had a Sega Genesis and was a Sega kid is because for whatever reason, and it was probably through advertising in the 90s, like, I thought Sega was the cool console. Like,
Little
oh,
did you know.
yeah, I was like,
Oh.
anyway, you know, what everybody else had. Everybody else had an NES and a Super Nintendo and stuff like that. And it was like, you had Mario. I was like, I wanted that, like, cool, fast blue hedgehog. Like, I
yeah.
wanted to play Sonic the Hedgehog. And, like, I begged and begged to get a Sega Genesis. And my mom was like, no. They're too expensive. We don't have enough money.
We don't need one.
And then on my birthday, I got a Sega Genesis
Yeah.
when I was like 5 years old.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Like I was 2.
Yeah, it would have been like 93.
Yeah. So, I was
So
about 2 years
November
old.
5th of 93, I got a Sega Genesis. And I was like, it blew my mind. I was ecstatic. It was the first console I ever had that was mine, and I finally got to play.
Blew your baby mind.
It did.
Yeah.
I got to play Sonic the Hedgehog, so I was very excited. But that's how I felt. I remember thinking about that even like years afterwards. That it was like I wanted the cool console. Like it was jet black, and it was like it looked different than the Nintendo ones.
Yeah.
And you get to play Sonic the Hedgehog. So
And like mine was Pokemon, honestly. That got me a Nintendo, not Link. Like for granted, I love Zelda games, and
I think that could be considered definitely a gaming mascot,
I think so too. Because Pokemon, I was like
especially the starters
a
and
little,
stuff.
yeah,
that are really
I was
popular.
a little kid, and I love freaking, they're still cute and they look at the little fuzzy Pokemon look like animals, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
And so when I realized, oh, they're actually a Nintendo game, like the Game Boys, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, as I say, I think it's more indicative of like that handheld market that Nintendo has notoriously dominated.
Oh yeah, they still do.
I think that would be a good advocate, even of the time up to now, to say that like the original starter Pokemon
It was card games.
Yeah, it would be like a perfect gaming mascot, whether it be Pikachu or Charizard or something along those lines. Like it would be.
The original starters.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
I did have to, this is a completely side note, and I'll have to agree with this. My friend at work and I were talking about Pokemon, because she says, like, her husband plays Pokemon Go all the time. Mm-hmm. Again, another handheld version.
Yeah.
And that we both agree that the original Pokemons are the Pokemons, not the shit they're coming out with now.
Yeah, I think that's just definitely like age thing.
I think so too. Like
I was there in the beginning.
I was there when it started.
Yeah.
There was only 130.
Exactly.
Why are there so many more? And why does one look like a toilet? It makes no sense. You have a cat biting your finger.
There's games like that too. Like Sonic the Hedgehog is like a good example. Like for me, Sonic the Hedgehog is it's specifically Sonic 2, but Sonic 1, 2, and Sonic and Knuckles. Like that's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
But there's kids, like even my little brother included, where they played, there was like a 2008 game called Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
That was his favorite, and like how he got into it. So that's Sonic the Hedgehog for him, and the other ones are like almost unplayable to him.
Yeah. Oh.
And for me, it was like, well, fuck, I was there on the ground floor. I was 5 years old playing Sonic the Hedgehog. You don't know crap. Because he's 15 years younger than me.
Yeah, yeah. And it's wireless controllers, bitch. You got it made. I'm gonna sit on the floor with my Nintendo playing my Zelda
You were fucking
game.
-10 when I was jamming on that shit. Like, you don't know crap.
You were still swimming in the Tesla.
Yeah. What you created yet?
You don't even know. But it's like the funny part is like for me it's like was the handheld version, and then I got you to play the original Pokemon too, because I'm like, you're like, what's the best one to start with? I'm like, it's either red, blue, gold, one of those.
I went red because it's my favorite color.
Makes sense. I mean,
and Charizard is my favorite now that I played him, and yeah, those are just brilliant RPGs. They're great.
You're a horrible Pokemon master.
Sacrifice them all except for Charizard.
You do.
Charizard's
You're
the champion.
terrible.
Kind of like when John was talking the other night about you can just run through with this like one. That's all you need. I was like, man, Charizard will fucking kick you. Goddamn Pokemon's ass. You know shit. I beat it with just Charizard, so fuck you.
I cheated, so it's all good. There's always ways to cheat. Well, that's what I'm saying though. It's like nowadays, it's not. Besides maybe. There's so many generations of games out. There's so many games out and so many different types of the same game out. Yeah. And it makes it hard to picture us that mascot with this game. It may be that mascot of the year or a game of the year because it's an exclusive, but at the same time, it makes it hard to think when you say this name, you don't necessarily think of the thing anymore. You just think of which version it is.
Yeah, I mean, it does make it difficult. I think it's easy to say that Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog really defined that kind of like culture, or not culture, but console war and like the gaming mascot because of the gaming culture at the time.
I think so too. I
think it started to get a little bit like muddy or kind of blurry when we got into 3D gaming and 3D platformers.
Yeah.
I think you could easily say that, like, Sony coming into the fray in the 90s with the PS1, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, that's a good example, too.
It was a platformer.
Yeah.
He fit the bill. You got, like, an anthropomorphized, like, animal, a bandicoot. And...
Are you doing Bandicoot things?
Yep. Kind of. Not really, but... was Sony's mascot. Is that an actual...
Yeah. What is it?
It's kind of like an echidna.
I don't know what that is either. Never mind.
There's Knuckles and Sonic. But...
Oh, okay.
I think a Bandicoot's like a weasel.
Oh, okay. A weasel type.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
And echidna doesn't look anything like Knuckles from Sonic.
Well, can't, no shit.
But an echidna's an animal as well.
They're just inspired is all.
But, and then that'd be Nintendo 64 era, so I think Mario's still kind of right
Mario
high.
still, yeah. You can try to say Link or Zelda because they're kind of neck and neck at that generation. So
Yeah, I still think even then though, like the
it was
Mario,
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I think on the Switch you can definitely say Zelda's kind of taken over.
Yeah, getting to newer generations, I honestly think it's like the re-rise of the gaming mascot, and I think that is in part to the strong first party lineup of each of the consoles.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think it'll be labeled specifically as such.
Mascots, no.
Just because I think that terminology and that like mindset is kind of from a bygone era.
Yeah,
It's from the 90s.
Yeah,
And I don't think that'll ever really return. I think it's definitely prevalent in older gamers' minds.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's something that younger generations or younger gamers
are gonna
will
latch
ever
onto.
latch onto and bring back, like, and specifically call that. I think you can make a very solid claim though that Link more than Mario now is
Yes.
Nintendo's mascot,
Yeah.
especially with the Switch, and I think it'll honestly continue forward for quite a while.
I think so too.
I think both those games, like their newest ones, Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, did exceedingly well review-wise and, critical acclaim up the wazoo. But I feel like the fan base for Zelda is like more rabid and more popular. I'd be curious to look at even like sales figures
To see
between Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. But I would put good money that Link is probably more
prevalent now.
than
Been
Mario.
back in like the 90s.
Yeah, and I think it was vice versa.
Yeah.
I think Link was definitely a close second. Zelda was a close second back then. Even with, you're talking about like the best of the best with like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think
then you
Mario
get that,
just kind of stood out.
You get that too. It's like when you think of handhelds, the same concept as you think of handhelds. It's for Nintendo, you think Pokemon.
Yeah, because it's been, save for the Switch ones, the
It's
Switch
always
ones are going to be the
on-
first one.
Yeah,
on
the
it.
only one that ever had an actual Pokemon games were the handhelds.
And you can say that the Switch is really just a fancy handheld anyways.
Yeah, you
So-
can. You get away with that aspect. So it just makes it interesting to see, like you're saying, it's not necessarily the death of it because, like we were talking about, there's so many generations of consoles. So it is. It's not like
Yeah, and I think it got muddied in the middle there, and you could say that there was like a near-death experience of the
I saw the light.
of the mascot. Because once you start getting into like the like Xbox and PS2 and GameCube generation,
Oh, the cube.
I think it was a little bit more
It wasn't a cube.
difficult because then I think like we were maturing and becoming teenagers.
Yeah.
And we're really the first kind of like generation like completely entranced in gaming. So it was like, for like PS2 like gamers at that time, would it be Jack and Daxter
Or
taking up that kind of like pedigree from Crash Bandicoot and Naughty Dog?
True.
Because Crash Bandicoot was created to be a mascot for Sony.
Well, that makes sense.
And then Crash Bandicoot finished, then we get Jack and Daxter. So was it Jack and Daxter, or was it, Sony Santa Monica's Kratos?
Oh,
Were we old enough for that then at that time where, you could have a dark
More
and
mature,
gritty
yeah.
anti-hero that was leading his own franchise and stuff, and did very well critically and sales-wise.
Well, you also have to think too. That another thing that makes it come to mind, besides the up and coming new generations, and then the rebirth essence of the mascot, is the fact that you have the cross-platform, the cross-play games, like we're not,
Which is true.
not exclusives.
Yeah, there was definitely more of a focus on the, first party
Yeah.
side to it. And I think there's like a deep root for gaming mascots and the genre of platformers. Mm-hmm. Like platformers and mascots, like that, Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario were platformers.
Yeah.
So, and Crash Bandicoot as well. They were platformers. And I think we started to stray into like new genres, which kind of muddied the water. Like, can you have a gaming mascot that's a first-person shooter?
Yeah, that does make it different.
Or a gory action adventure game.
Like,
Does that still like fall within that definition? Like, can you have Kratos be
the dark
Mascot because he's not a platformer? Can you have Master Chief be Xbox's mascot, even though it's a sci-fi shooter?
That's true.
But Nintendo then retains Mario, and it's still a platforming game. And Sega doesn't exist anymore, so it's like you don't have that rival between Sonic and Mario. So then it's like, is it as relevant? Like, because why would you have Master Chief versus Mario? Like, it seems a little silly, if you put it that way. Or Kratos versus Master Chief and Mario. Like, that PR kind of rivalry, it's a lot different because they're different genres of games and they're way different characters. And it's like...
You get a wider spread. And
you can maybe picture Master Chief versus Kratos. It's like, that's kind of interesting, like, if you just ponder it. But it's like...
Not Kratos versus Mario.
Yeah, Kratos versus Mario. It's like, oh my god, Mario's just been gutted. Like, oh Jesus. Like, or he's been, vaporized by Master Chief. Like, it's harder, I think, from a PR standpoint to try to make those comparisons. And then also those companies were evolving and becoming more mature, trying to with their audience.
Yeah.
Like, they have a wider demographic to sell games.
They're trying to grow up with their audience because we're not kids anymore. Now we're these angsty teens. What's going to capture the angsty teen?
Exactly. And then if you were talking about, development times of games now becoming longer and longer and longer and more expensive just because the hardware is getting better, they also have to think about in the same breath, that 17-year-old angsty teen is going to be 21 4 years from now when this game's done.
Yeah.
What is that 21-year-old going to enjoy?
Liquor and boobies.
Yeah, that's what I mean, exactly. And then also, now there's another generation behind them. They also have kids that are playing games as well. So now they have to diversify, their portfolio. They have to do different types of games, different genres of games. And then now that the gaming mascot is not representing gamers almost in their entirety. Yeah. It's at best representing only half. A generation of gamers. And what do you pick? Do you pick the older, maturing generation, or do you pick, kids that are getting into it like that you would have in the 90s, So that kind of splits the difference too.
Yeah, and then it feels like with the split difference, it makes it harder to have that one mascot.
He never freaks out. That's insane. Our ancient Maine Coon, who's like 10 years old, is like playing and racing around the house
with our 3-month-old kitten.
Yeah, and he just never. I mean, he plays. He's like very healthy and spry, but he's a lazy old cat. Like, he doesn't really play.
Oh man, that's great.
He's being a goofball. He's on the counters, which he's not supposed to be. He's getting in everything.
Yeah, sounds about right.
What a dork.
Anyways. But it's hard. It makes it hard to deal with, the idea of a mascot due to the fact that there are so many different platforms now, so many different generations mixed in there. What do you capture? What's important?
That's why I think Nintendo personally has done so well. And maybe that's where I see that division a little bit with the Switch, is that older gamers are gravitating more towards Link, but maybe younger gamers are still gravitating more towards Mario.
True.
Because their parents are buying them Mario games,
Yeah.
rather than this open world, more mature version of Link that's darker,
And that makes sense too, because like you said, it's like they're marketing towards a different generation, and what's going to do that? It's going to be like a more mature Link, where Mario's always a platformer.
It's Mario, yeah.
It's Mario.
There's always a kind of a certain innocent charm to Mario, when there necessarily doesn't have to be for Link.
We know the truth. Mario's not innocent.
Yeah. It's me, Mario. I kill everybody.
Everybody's dead. But, it does make it interesting to see the development. Not necessarily the death of it. Because they're, especially when the second generations came out of consoles, there was definitely a brief moment of flatlining in the mascots.
Yeah, I think especially with... when you get into, the kind of mixed or half generations with, the Wii, the Wii U, and now the Switch, it's more difficult to kind of line them up with the other consoles. So,
yeah.
And Mario and Link have really, carried through.
Yeah.
And always been strong contenders. However, Sony and Microsoft, I think, are dealing with not necessarily a problem. It's probably not something they really, focus on, because those kind of, business rivalries... exists in some sense.
They always do, yeah.
You know, as far as like finances, it was probably more so like how much
you can always get someone
selling.
who thinks Kratos is PlayStation mascot.
Yeah, and I think that Microsoft now is probably dealing with a shortage of first-party games.
Mm-hmm.
So you really kind of boils down to probably just Master Chief.
Yeah.
They do have Gears of War, but in the newest Gears of War, Marcus Phoenix is not really the lead. He's in it, but he's not the focus on it. I think you could say that Marcus Phoenix probably embodied definitely like the 360, and Master Chief was like the OG Xbox.
Yeah.
Just because of the popularity of those franchises at those times, and with Sony, I would say that Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series really embodied what the PS3 was.
Yeah.
And kind of had its, uptick with Uncharted 4 and then Lost Legacy, in the PS4 life cycle. But I don't think it necessarily would be now. I don't think that.
No, not now. Well, like I was saying, too, you get the generations, and I think it's more along the lines to say, what's the mascot of the year, not the mascot of the cycle of the system. If that makes any sense, because it's like...
Well, that's kind of what I was getting to, is that Microsoft doesn't have like a ton of first-party games, so it kind of boils down to just one.
Yeah.
Master Chief. But with Sony, especially with the success of the PS4 and their first-party studios, I mean, just this generation, we had Uncharted 4 with Nathan Drake.
Aloy.
We had, Aloy with Horizon Zero Dawn, which did exceedingly well. We had one of my personal favorites, Days Gone with Deacon St. John. And then we had the rebirth of God of War with Kratos still.
Exactly.
So it's like we have, just in that list, 4 very strong contenders that embody Sony in a very different way.
Yep, they do.
So, which one would it be?
Yeah, exactly.
It probably depends on who you talk to. Because they...
Well, then it changes, too, because they come out not necessarily at the same time, the same year, and it's like...
Yeah, if you just, are talking about, this past year, it's like, you can probably say Deacon St. John.
Exactly. And then...
That was Sony's big first-party game this year.
The year prior was Kratos, God of War. It could have been Kratos.
Yeah.
You
probably had Aloy. Yeah,
and then Uncharted. That's what I mean. It's not necessarily the death of a mascot, like you're saying. It's just the... I don't want to say recycling of a mascot. It changes every year.
Sony is the only one dealing with that.
Yeah,
I think that's the only reason that makes it difficult.
But if you think about it too, though, you're still always going to get those people who are Nintendo people, who are Xbox people, who are PlayStation people. They're not going to always have, like you and I have, 4 or 5 different systems in our house that are the same generation. Due to the fact that just some people are just label whores and they like this specific specific type.
I think that worry is becoming less and less of a concern. I think there's a lot less fanboyism about certain consoles or companies. I think people have their favorites, but
yeah, that's true.
I see it a lot less. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I see it a lot less than I did
No, I'm saying there was at one point there was that where it's like oh, I'm just Sony, I'm this, and
oh yeah, absolutely, there definitely was, especially OG Xbox and 360 days, and then you talk about PS2 and PS3, especially that 360 PS3 generation. That really,
that kind of
we got really amped up, probably even more so or on par with the 90s rivalry between Nintendo and Sega. And then PlayStation coming in really hot in the 90s too,
ooh, sexy.
Yeah, the PS2 or the 360 and PS3 that was definitely an interesting one.
Yeah.
They're totally different consoles. It was the second console by Microsoft, so there was a lot of high expectations there, and Sony started off real slow. Yeah,
well, yes, and then Sony changed it up so much that it made it difficult for the PlayStation 3 to kind of. Granted, it was the best-selling one, but kind of put a cockhold.
Yeah, it was the best-selling one by the end. I mean, it wasn't and it was not by even leaps and bounds. You look up sales figures of it, you're talking about 80 million units sold compared to 83 million units.
Yeah,
or 85 versus 88 or something like that. It's a very slim margin. It's surprising to most people. that's how it ended up. But the 360 was a powerhouse during that generation. I mean, it bested the PS3, and I had a 360 briefly. I primarily had a PS3, but even I could say, like, living through that generation and like, playing the PS3, that it took a long while before they started, giving us Uncharted and God of War 3 and some of these like now like classics. It took a bit.
Yeah, it did.
You get The Last of Us, at the end of that generation and stuff like that.
That is true. So tell me, what's your favorite mascot that you remember?
I would definitely say Sonic the Hedgehog still. It's just very classic to me. It reminds me of the silly rivalries of like the 90s that were, I'm sure, fabricated for PR, but
oh yeah,
I love Sonic. He was great.
Oh, Sonic.
Had so many shitty games since, which really sucks. It's one of those ones that just has a...
Should just left it when it was good.
Yeah, because it's like the only good Sonic games after the original trilogy are you get like Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
And then Sonic Mania, which was made by fans, not by Sega.
And the Sonic cartoon.
Yeah.
That was
I remember watching that.
That was a good one.
But yeah, that is just more like nostalgic for me. I would say behind that, the more modern ones, as I became like a more like serious or like involved gamer, it would definitely be Kratos.
Yeah.
And then Nathan Drake.
Those are good ones.
Yeah. I think it's a little, like we were just talking about, a little more difficult to pick, like Deacon St. John or Aloy or something like that.
Yeah, those are good games, but
I feel like Kratos has had such like a hold for such a long time. This, the original 3 God of Wars are brilliant. The reboot's brilliant. It also embodied, like, when you were talking about characters, mascotting, like, handhelds and stuff.
Yeah.
The PSP God of Wars were great as well, and Kratos helmed those. So it's like, I think, and they had, like, limited edition Kratos, like, PSPs or God of War PSPs.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think he was very indicative for a lot of different consoles for a very long time. It wasn't a pick of the week. And then Uncharted, same kind of thing. Uncharted really made the PS3.
Yeah.
And then we got to see kind of like a very awesome conclusion with Uncharted 4 and then a cool spin-off after that.
They was making fun of itself because it had Crash Bandicoot in it.
Yeah, Naughty Dog was making fun of themselves. Yeah, he was playing Crash Bandicoot.
And then their kid was playing Crash Bandicoot too, which is funny.
Yeah, and I really like Crash Bandicoot. That was a good mascot as well. But one where I was a little all over the place with it as far as like playing it and stuff, or my love of it. Like, there were certain ones I really, really liked, and then, like, the first one is, like, notoriously difficult, kind of The second one's great, though. So it's, like, a little all over the place. And they came out kind of back to back to back. So it was really only, like, PS1.
Yeah, that's
But true. That's how I would probably rank it. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog, Kratos, and then Nathan Drake from Uncharted.
Our dog's like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm dog of war lazing it right now.
What about you?
I think mine is Pokemon. Honestly, like, I know Link is in there too, but for handheld, like we're talking handheld, it's gonna be Pokemon. Because, like, honestly, it's gonna be very dumb for me to say. I didn't realize Nintendo made Game Boys. I just thought Game Boys was...
Oh, that there was a separate company onto itself.
Yeah. Like, Game Boys were just Game Boys, not Nintendos.
Yeah. Nintendo has been...
It's doing its own
famously thing. Had a stranglehold on the handheld market because since the Game Boy,
like, it still does. Like, I'm not.
But
there
Switch,
aren't really. The Lite, there's nothing else out there that has handheld speed besides.
Yes, Sony was the only one that ever even came close.
It tried, and then the Vita died.
Oh, the Vita did die, yeah, and the PSP was hugely popular.
But then again, that was easily hackable.
But then it was, and then you get to. The 3DS and the Vita, and it was you just fucking died. And then the Switch came out.
I got this, and then now the Switch Lite.
Yeah,
there's nothing else handheld coming out besides Switch Lite.
No, I mean there's always light rumors of Sony getting back into that.
I doubt it.
Patents and stuff like that. I think they're more focused on VR.
The PlayStation and
flagship console.
Yeah. But still, anyway, so Nintendo, so like I said, that's going to sound stupid, but the Game Boy, so Pokemon.
Yep.
For me. And then I know I said Mario comes to mind when it comes to Nintendo, but I liked Zelda, Link. So,
and I think a lot of people, especially our age or our generation, would agree.
And let's see, for me, for PlayStation, because I didn't play Sega. I'm trying to think, PlayStation, Kratos, definitely Kratos.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around since PS2.
That's what I mean. Kratos
all the way to the PS4. So it's like PS2, PS3, PS4, PSP.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they had remasters of stuff on all those consoles and the Vita.
Yep.
So.
And honestly, I think that's it for me, honestly. I mean, there's other, like, little ones sprinkled in there, because, like, I liked, you know, Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn and all that, but then
Aloy's great.
But then again, it's just, I like Kratos way better, and...
Yeah.
You know, that's just, like, one that's kind of stuck in my mind, because it's had so many just been on all the platforms.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely long running now. I want to say it was like 2005 when the first God of War came out. So, I mean, you're talking 14, almost 15 years worth of games.
Jesus, yeah. Half our lifetime right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I remember when the first God of War came out. Like, how
and then that's
excited
when
I
we're
was.
getting old enough to be in the dark, angsty teen era. And
Oh, yeah, and I played that game as a teenager, so I was like, this is fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like, it was just cool. Like, that's all you're kind of worried about. I think a lot of people felt the same way who played the Xbox at that time. It was like they were playing Halo with their friends and stuff and doing LAN parties. It was like, Master Chief is fucking badass.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they, you know,
yeah.
they felt the same kind of way that I did
with
playing
God of War.
On the PS2, you know.
So that makes me kind of think, though, is like, are Xbox players jealous because they don't get really cool mascots?
I don't know. It's so weird because it's like because I think one part that's really important about gaming mascots is that rivalry. And the way Microsoft has been like trending
Yeah.
in the last like couple years or few years has definitely been getting their software on as many platforms as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is true. Gaming companies dominantly like make their money off of software, not their hardware, not their console.
No, they make it off of the updates and...
So it's like if Master Chief is on everything, then they don't care. They're making money. Like, and so then does it really, are they really like that deep of a rival with like Sony?
Yeah.
Because it's like those two are directly compared all the time.
But he's on all the platforms.
Yeah, and then Sony's like the exact opposite. Like
We
they're,
have
they're
so
doubling
many
down on first-party studios and games,
exclusives.
and they don't want to put their exclusives on everything. They want you to buy the PlayStation 4 to play
Ooh, another one
your
comes into
your
mind.
Bloodborne. Your,
Yeah, Bloodborne, I was going to say, it just
your
popped up in my head. That's a good one,
Uncharted,
too.
your Last of Us, your Horizon Zero Dawns, your Death Strandings, your Days Gone. Like that's a ridiculous stable of first-party like narrative games.
And that's just a small handful of
That's just
frickin'-
this generation.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't include other things that they've done prior.
Isn't the Devil May Cry on PlayStation 2?
No, they have, I think, some Sony, like, perks. Sometimes they'll do that. But no, that's by Capcom, and that is multi-console.
Son of a bitch.
That's crossplay, yeah.
God damn it.
You can get that on the Xbox One. And
Assholes. How dare they? But I'm just saying in
the
general.
older ones now are on the Switch.
Hell yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess I said that answered my own question. But yeah, so it's like, then again, it's like that. It's like, who's going to do the powerhouse when Sony's got so many exclusives? For granted, like, Nintendo's only fucking 9.
Yeah, Nintendo has a lot of exclusives too, but I really wouldn't consider Sony and Nintendo rivals. Like,
No, not in the slightest.
they're like a half
Sony's
generation off now,
Sony's
console-wise.
Sony's got his own shit going, like.
And the Switch is a much different console than the PlayStation 4 or even the Xbox One.
I just think...
So it's kind of like, you can't even really directly compare those two very well.
No, honestly, I think it's like, at this point, it's, Microsoft versus Sony.
Yeah, because their consoles are very similar. Their ecosystems are similar.
Yeah, gaming is similar.
They release consoles
Nintendo just
about the
kind of
same
like
time.
hanging out on the left-hand corner, just sipping some tea, saying, you got it, bitches.
Yeah, which really since the Sega days, along with maybe the N64 and PS1, there really has not been like a direct rival of Nintendo because they've always just kind of gone by the beat of their own drum. Like,
Yeah, they've just...
they put out interesting like tech
They're like, we're just gonna do our own shit.
Yeah, they have never
like
really been concerned with being a powerhouse.
Yeah, no, like the Wii itself is like its own unique gaming system compared to like even the PlayStation of the generation. It's like,
well, yeah, and then even in response, like that's a good example. Microsoft and Sony both released motion controls after the Wii came out. Because the Wii was so successful, it sold 100 million plus units and dominated everything during that generation.
Yeah, after the Wii came out though.
Yeah, and then Sony quickly put out the PlayStation Move, which was their version of motion controls. And then Microsoft had the Kinect and went in even a little further by integrating that into their user interface of their consoles.
Yeah, but if you think about it now...
And now Sony uses that tech for PlayStation VR.
That's what I mean. It's like...
Yeah, all because of the Wii.
And
because of how well it did. They played catch-up, like... because it did really well, which is funny. But it wasn't like Nintendo was responding to Sony and Microsoft and some innovative tech that they put out.
No.
It was like, the other two that directly compete with each other were trying to play
catch up with Nintendo.
And it had nothing to do with hardware.
No, not the slightest.
It was just motion controls.
Which is hilarious. But then again, it's like, I mean, they all have their own powerhouse, and Nintendo is like, haha, bitches,
But on the flip side of the coin, Nintendo is really lacking in, like, an online infrastructure.
Yes, they do lack that. Like, their online is very meh. But at the same time, I feel like if they put their money where their mouth is when it comes to that, if they really not fought hard or put effort towards it, it wouldn't take them too long to be like...
No, they could, if they wanted to.
I think they don't want to, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They like the idea of still being so unique and different, like the handheld version or, the Wii or whatever, or the Switch even, where it's like a port system, and it just makes it so different. And I think they like being the different ones.
Yeah. Well, it removes any sort of competition, which is smart.
Yeah, they're like, are you going to fucking compete with me? I literally have, like, a little docking system to make me either a console or a handheld. What the fuck you got?
Yeah, exactly. But it's been, like, there was like, corresponding articles, but Cory Barlog, who did the reboot of God of War, was talking about the magic behind the studio that ported The Witcher 3 over to the Switch.
Yeah.
Because, like, the hardware's not there. It's not a powerhouse. But they managed to jam this gigantic game into a little teeny cartridge and play it on the Switch. And it was like...
Bitty cartridge.
And that kind of shows, too, like, the lack of rivalry. You have this...
powerhouse of, like, a kind of a game.
Yeah. Well, I just meant you have, like, this very... kind of larger-than-life, like, game creator, like, game director, Cory Barlog. He's been around for ages. Yeah. It works for a Sony first-party studio, praising another studio that's third-party about technically what would be, 25 years ago, a rival console.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he's playing the Switch and playing The Witcher 3 on the Switch and his reaction to it and about how they did a great job.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened, during, the Genesis and Super Nintendo games.
Oh, God, no. I feel like back then it was easier to have your own console, your own games, and assign a mascot, in that sense of the word.
Yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of it was just PR behind it. You have marketing directors pushing it and creating that and like...
But now you got the multi-platformer games where they can be on either Xbox, Nintendo. Yeah. And it just makes it harder to have that mascot. Yeah, you're going to have your Golden Age ones or the Generation ones or the Year ones even, but it's not... Sonic is with the Sega, or, Mario's with Nintendo, or, Yeah. PlayStation has Crash Bandicoot anymore.
Well, and I think Nintendo, too... because it's just kind of done its own thing for so long and been unique and carried forward Mario and Link, and they've done so well that that's why they're the only ones that have done it.
Yep, that's the only ones that are still doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're
just evolving and changing and trying to keep up with their audiences, and
Nintendo's like,
I'm
gonna
do what I'm gonna do. Like, you know,
they listen to their fans, but at the same time, they're like, meh, we're gonna do our own shit.
it's like they did like a dark version of Mario where he was killing aliens. Like, I mean, they just didn't do that. Like, you make it your darker version of Zelda.
But at the same time, if you want a fucking dark
But
game,
it's not over the top.
No. But they're like, if you
Link's
wanna,
not slaughtering people like Kratos was with the Greek gods, you know?
Yeah, but if you want that dark game, they have that port of it.
Well, but those are first party games. Like, you'd never find God of War on a Switch.
I think they have it on the Switch now.
You don't have it on the Switch now.
You know what? They have Doom.
Yeah, but that's third party.
You know what I mean. Oh my god, I'm gonna smother you with the pillow. I'm saying that
they do have good third-party support now, where they do have darker games on there.
Yeah,
I was just talking about their first-party games.
I think when Mascots. You think of Nintendo too, I just in my head, I don't know about you, I get this little bubbly image of like a very happy, smiley gold face bouncing around with confetti.
It definitely has been labeled in years past as like the kids' console.
Well, even then, like it's just I don't know why that pops up or something on Nintendo. It's just a really happy smiley face, and then confetti all around it. and then when you get like Nintendo, it's like, or I meant the PlayStation. It's like God of War standing over a corpse or something.
Yeah, definitely darker, like for sure. Microsoft and Sony.
You even like look at the colors of the consoles too. It's like Nintendo's always so colorful.
Oh yeah.
Like for sure, like you get skins and stuff for the Nintendo or for the Sonys and whatnots, but it's like
yeah, they do some like limited edition.
You get maybe the Xboxes do white, ooh, cool, but Nintendo's like, ooh, I'm pretty and bright and colorful and
Microsoft and Sony definitely go for like clean, modern, like make sure it looks like cool and high tech and
whatever.
Like,
fine, don't be bubbly and cute and have confetti blown out your ass.
Nintendo's very much like here's our pastel Joy-Cons and we have a little dock. Yeah. Although their hardware does actually look like pretty like sleek now.
It does, yeah.
Like
comparatively,
especially like in the handheld mode when you have the Switch.
Well, if you like look at the Wii that we have right now, that's black. That's slick as fuck.
Yeah, and that looks really cool. Mm-hmm. You see some of the older consoles.
I think Wii came out colorfuls. Didn't they have colored Wii's too? Like red.
There was a red Mario one for sure.
That's a conversation for a different time.
Yeah, I think there was other limited edition
ones and like
that were colorful, like and Sony does the same thing. They've had like different
not Days Gone, but
there's Death Stranding,
Uncharted with that pretty steel blue one. And
yeah, they've done that too. Usually, as generations go,
they always have an exclusive
on. Yeah, when they have a big exclusive come out, they'll do like a special bundle where you can get, oh, here's a gold PS4 with Uncharted 4 and a matching controller or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. But still, I feel like the Mascot's not dead. He's coming back, but in his own way.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever be labeled as such, so you could make the claim that it is dead just because that term won't be used, but I think that there are characters that are definitely like Mascot embodiments of those
systems.
consoles or those companies.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
And I would say that Kratos still has Sony. Even though there's so many good other...
There are good other ones, but
characters.
Kratos definitely, for sure.
I think with Uncharted kind of wound down. I think it filled the void when there really wasn't a God of War game.
But it ended.
Or they weren't doing as well, but it's kind of finished.
Yeah.
So I think Nathan Drake had his place.
You did.
For when Kratos couldn't be there.
Yeah, and then God
but
of
I
War's
think
back.
it's back, and we know we're going to get another one, and so I think Kratos definitely embodies what Sony is still to this day. Mm-hmm. I think Master Chief does.
Still the Xbox.
For Xbox, Halo games seem to do really well, and
Mario and Link Switch.
Gears of War is kind of like trying to switch stuff up and do different things, and I think Marcus Phoenix is a really cool character, but more represented what a 360 was probably than anything.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then Nintendo, I would say, has switched from Mario to Link. I think fans of Zelda are at least more vocal.
Yeah.
But more engaging over Zelda than Mario.
Yep, I think so too.
So it's like I think they still have their respective mascots, and I think they will continue. Like those ones that I kind of listed for a while. I think people are very excited about, a new Halo, and
Oh yeah.
people are very excited about a new Zelda, and then people are very excited about a new God of War.
Yeah, I think so too.
And all of which have, and maybe that's more indicative of what the gaming mascot is now, and that differentiates what it was before, is that all of those characters in like franchises now have a legacy.
Yeah.
They have a foothold in the newer generations. They haven't always been around.
No.
Link has. He's the only one, but we just discussed how Nintendo's always just kind of done their own thing. But Link has taken the mantle probably a bit from Mario, but I think now we're getting like, Halo's an aged franchise now.
Yeah.
There's been a ton of them and spin-offs.
Yeah.
And it's spanned, 3 generations of consoles, and same with God of War. God of War has spanned 3 generations worth of consoles and has, had a soft reboot, and, in order to give it more room to breathe and expand. So I think legacy is important here.
Yeah, I think it's turned from Mascots to Legacy now.
And I think that's why I probably wouldn't say, Aloy right now or Deacon St. John right
because they
now.
only have one game.
Yeah, they just came out. They don't,
don't
they
have
might
that.
embody what's to come.
They could, yeah. That change, that will be...
If you start getting, a few more Horizon Zero Dawn games in there, a few more Days Gone games in there, it's like, it very
and
well...
generations as well of consoles.
Yeah, God of War could start to,
Peter
on out again, and then Aloy could easily kind of take that mantle, or, maybe Microsoft introduces a new first-party game, or like kind of invigorates Gears of War, and it's Marcus Phoenix again or something.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's a good way to put it. It is not a death of a mascot. It's just, it's generational now and makes it to where, they have that background and that history and that, exclusiveness.
Yeah. And these characters, too, are also evolving, which is really cool, because I think having just a platformer mascot, Mario doesn't ever change or evolve.
No.
As a character.
Like Link did.
Yeah, and Link does, and it has. We've seen so many different portrayals of Link, but especially with the newest one, it's like, he has changed.
Yep.
He has evolved as a character, and, his stories have kind of followed suit. Kratos in God of War has changed. He has evolved.
Yeah.
That was the big complaint, is that he was a very flat character in his original trilogy. But with the new one, you can see that he has grown and changed. Master Chief has as well, and there's been more characterization given to him rather than the silent protagonist. So it's like, as these characters are growing as well, they are representing each generation with the evolutions of their characters that a lot of mascots just can't. From back in the day.
No. Yep.
Mario doesn't ever change.
Nope,
Sonic never changes.
Nope, he just chases the little coins.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always, a funny or goofily designed kind of character, like saving the princess and she's in another castle, or defeating Dr. Robotnik, and it's a very classic kind of hero-villain tale, and that's it per game.
It is.
They tried to make Sonic dark, but that was the dark time in Sonic games. Hopefully we get more fan-made Sonic games, and then he can stay somewhat relevant.
That'd be hilarious. All right, well.
Like Shadow the Hedgehog and things like that.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it was a little bit. But
that's funny.
There's just
it is true. It's true, and then to think of it that way, it's a very good point that it's evolved, and it makes sense to evolve and grow. Things evolve and grow. It's just weird to think when we were kids, this is what it used to be, and now kids grow up with the fact that it's not.
Oh yeah, that's why I think it was in the beginning of this podcast we talked about generations of gamers, or multiple generations of gamers playing games at the same time. It's I think it is very difficult to, focus on just one.
It is.
Because it's you're already, if you do that, then you're already having or quartering your demographic and base, if you just, and then you're ignoring the rest. But it's well, gamers of all ages enjoy all sorts of different games. Like with the rise of competitive esports and stuff like that, it's think about that group of people.
Yeah.
What do they enjoy? What do they want to play? What do they want to do competitively? What do they want to focus on to make money and compete?
What means the most to them?
Yeah. What about the casual like gamer at home, like maybe the mom or dad that are playing games with their kids. Like obviously you don't want them playing Halo or God of War or something like that. Yeah. You might want to be playing Mario Odyssey with them or
showing their kids what they like to play and
or like the Lego games or something along those lines where it's like you can play together as a family and it's like relatively PG or PG-13.
Yeah.
But it's like maybe the dad is streaming at night and wants to play Days Gone, and it's like there's just certain groups that you have to
catch and
take all into account as gamers have gotten older and new gamers have been born and are starting to grow up.
Yeah. I know it's gonna be weird to think of Ollie not really ever having that mascot, but at the same time, he's going to grow up with the generational versions of mascots.
Yeah. Well, and like for him, it's like, so when I was 5 years old, I got the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
When he's 5 years old, it'll most likely be whatever the successor to the Switch is.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That'll be the first one that he really kind of like remembers and plays, and might be his own, kind of a thing, like it was for me.
That bitch is gonna sit on the floor and play Nintendo 64.
No, I know he is. I'm just saying, like time wise or age wise.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Having our own kid, like that frame of reference is like weird because it's like I was, talking about like 1993. With him, we're talking about 2023.
Oh, yeah.
And so even just the time difference between that, my 5-year-old self and his 5-year-old self, as a dad to a son, it's like we're talking about a 30-year difference.
Just a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, and then all of the gaming that's happened in between.
Yeah.
All of the consoles, like, if I had a Sega Genesis and then, like, the next generation was, like, we'll just go Sony, but, like, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and then PS5, it would be like halfway through the PS5 cycle. We're talking about 5 console generations in between him and I.
Yeah, that is
at
insane.
the same age.
It's insane to think.
And so, like, if we just kind of map that over to Nintendo, there's been like 5 generations of Nintendo consoles in the in-between time.
That's weird.
Because it was like, say, Super Nintendo for me, and then so 64, GameCube, Wii, Wii U, Switch, and then he'll have the next one. So it'll be 6 consoles later in Nintendo.
Yep.
He'll probably play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, and that'll be his new console and will be like the cutting edge thing and be the new thing to play. Like, and he'll still be fucking playing Mario and Zelda. Like, which is insane. Like,
and Pokemon's now.
Because I played a Super Nintendo when I was that age, too. And I played Super Mario World, and I played A Link to the Past. Yeah. Like, that's what I played. Still my favorite Mario and my favorite Zelda game. They're on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but now you like Pokemon's, too.
Yeah, I didn't get into that when I was a kid for whatever reason.
It's because you're weird and by yourself.
But my favorite Zelda games are on Game Boy Color.
Which is funny.
Yeah. Because I had Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Those are my favorites.
I still like...
just above Link to the Past.
Ocarina of Time will always be my favorite.
But it'd be so weird because it's like, he'll be playing, like Breath of the Wild 3 or something. Like, bizarre.
To start.
Whatever the sequel to Mario Odyssey is.
He's going to start off with the roughness of blowing on a cartridge and hoping the game works.
Oh, yeah. He'll definitely be starting with the NES.
Yup.
Yeah, he's going to be playing the original Zeldas and Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong.
We're making our kids suffer.
Yeah, he's not going to be allowed to play new consoles.
The new consoles are for mom and dad.
Yeah. He can watch us play, but he's not going to play those. He's going to be popping in to Zelda.
You're blowing the cartridge, kid.
That's not working. Well, I'll tell you, you got to fix it then.
Fix it. Fix it.
But yeah, I think that was a very good discussion about the rise, fall, and maybe re-rise of the gaming mascot.
Yeah, I think so too. And
I think we covered a lot of bases.
Bases and basics. We probably didn't name off everything and everybody or what. What is your mascot? What do you game you say and then?
Yeah, what did you start with, and what would you consider to be your gaming mascot? Because we talked about how yours was Pokemon because of the handhelds, and then mine was Sonic because of the Genesis. I'm sure everyone has to have a start.
Yeah.
If you're a gamer, so sound off in the comments, or you can even contact us.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm at Merhobbit on Twitter tweets.
And I'm at Anthony R. Schultz. And then you can also hit us up on our email if you wanted, ASInquisitor@gmail.com.
Yeah, let us know. It's always interesting to hear when people come back and say, this was mine. This is what I feel like's a mascot for me. And because everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah, I would, no ageism. We do not care. If the first one you remember is, playing Halo on the OG Xbox and that Master Chief is yours, go for it. Or even if it's later and it's, I played Uncharted on the PS3. That's the first one I remember. Sound off with that.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Or even older. Go back to, Magnavox Odyssey days and Atari 2600. Or, you're, maybe you went to the local arcade every weekend and there was something that you and your friends always played. And that was your gaming mascot, whether it was Pac-Man or anything else. But, yeah, sound off.
Sound off.
Bam, 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 bam.
Well, as always, this is Rage Quit.
Yeah, episode 11.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into the weeds now, folks.
Yep. We'll be back. Next week was episode 12. We'll be doing the history and an in-depth kind of deep dive into BioShock.
BioShock, which is my favorite game.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking about Irrational Games, the studio behind BioShock, and BioShock Infinite. Probably more specifically about Ken Levine, the creator of the series. Probably go a little bit further back into System Shock and stuff, kind of the roots. And then we'll tie it all back in together by talking about System Shock 3 and Ken Levine's studio, which there's been some kind of rumors about what they might be working on.
Ooh, rumors.
Yeah. Which is...
BioShock 4.
It's ghost story games.
I think so.
But yeah, a lot smaller studio working on smaller titles.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, we'll go from System Shock to Ken Levine and BioShock trilogy to what they're working on now, and maybe the possibility of a BioShock 4. There are rumors about it. It still exists, so
it's there.
As far as the IP, and it's owned by the same people, the same publishing company.
There you go. Well, as always, thank you for listening, and follow the bear.
Follow the bear. Peace.
Sexy bear rage time.
Sexy bear rage time.
I fucked that up.
Sexy polar bear spam time.
Sorry.
Bam, 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 bam.
Bye, folks.
Peace. Hey there, guys. This is Anthony Schultz, one half of the duo for Rage Quit. I just wanted to spend a minute or two, at most, talking about Ariel and I's other endeavors or where you can follow her and I. If you're a fan of this podcast. So, I'm most prolific on Twitter as far as social media is concerned. I share more kind of gut reaction or private experiences and opinions there. I'm at Anthony R. Schultz. Pretty easy to remember, just my name. And if you'd be so inclined, you can give me a follow, and I also drop Rage Quit links there every week. And other things that Ariel and I are both working on. ASInquisitor also streams, which is the production company that produces Rage Quit, essentially myself at the moment. And I stream 5 days a week. I'm a variety streamer, so I do a little bit of everything. Hopefully, there's something there that you would really enjoy, even if it's just 1 day a week. I take every Thursday and Friday off, and you can follow and or subscribe at twitch.tv/ASInquisitor. All these links that I'm mentioning will be in the description box below, and I will reiterate. Also, ASInquisitor has a YouTube channel. So if you're not listening to this podcast via YouTube, if you're using your preferred podcast provider, this podcast does make its way to YouTube. We will eventually be recording not only our voices, but also ourselves when we do the podcast. We're just working on some equipment issues right now. But we also have past streams that I've done for ASInquisitor that have a little bit more kind of polish or pizzazz to them. They're divided up into better bite-sized chunks. for complete game playthroughs or Let's Plays. There's also a lot of unique content there. I record things throughout the week as I play games, just kind of funny moments or maybe even like personal achievements, things of that nature. And so you can search for ASInquisitor on YouTube. And again, the link will be in the description below. But those are my 3 kind of primary platforms that you can find me on. So that's Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Ariel actually has her own YouTube channel called Painting with LM Schultz. She's a very talented painter. She has her fine arts degree and enjoys painting for cathartic reasons, as well as to improve on her like technical prowess. So she started her own YouTube channel to improve on her techniques, as well as show people kind of some basics or things that you can do painting wise. There's also some other kind of crafty do-it-yourself kind of ideas and videos on there as well that pertain a little bit more personally to her and I, because they usually involve our family. You know, it's a family project that she's working on. For example, she did our son's Halloween costume, and so she walked through how she constructed and created, the costume and how you could do something similar for your kiddos at home. And then finally, you can follow Ariel on Twitter as well. She is primarily on Twitter, just like myself. We don't really indulge in too many other social media platforms, save for maybe Instagram. I don't think we're as active on there. Ariel might be, more so than myself. But you can follow her at Merhobbit and give her a follow as well. That's my lovely co-host and beautiful wife, Ariel. But anyways, I just wanted to stop in and kind of throw some links your way. And if you were curious about what ASInquisitor was doing and how Rage Quit kind of fit into that ecosystem, there it is. Yeah, got all the links for you. If you're interested in any one of those, all of those links are going to be in the description box below, and they're going to be in every podcast episode now. So I'm not sure if they're entirely there right now, but I'm going to be doing a fresh write-up and make sure and have all of those included for you. So just click a link or copy and paste and head on over if any of those strike your fancy. But anyways, thanks for enjoying the show. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week for more rage quittiness. And as always, follow the bear. And have a good evening, guys.